What happens when Hollywood's most outspoken actress sits down with television's most controversial host and the cameras are rolling? Today, we're diving into one of the most explosive moments in daytime television history that left viewers absolutely stunned. Before we get into this incredible story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments what you think about celebrity feuds on live TV. Trust me, you won't want to miss a single moment of what I'm about to tell you. It was supposed to be a routine promotional appearance. Olivia Wilde had been making the rounds, promoting her latest directorial project, and The View seemed like the perfect platform to reach that crucial daytime audience. The producers had scheduled what they thought would be a straightforward 20-minute segment. The kind of light-hearted celebrity chat that fills airtime and keeps viewers engaged during their lunch break. But from the moment Olivia walked onto that iconic set, something felt different. Joy Behar, seated in her usual spot at the table, had that look in her eyes that regular viewers know all too well. The kind of look that means she's got something brewing, something she's been thinking about for weeks and is finally ready to unleash on unsuspecting guests. "So, Olivia, welcome back to The View," Joy began, her voice carrying that deceptively sweet tone that always precedes her most cutting remarks. "I have to say, I've been following your career with great interest lately." Olivia settled into her chair, flashing that million-dollar smile that had charmed audiences for years. "Thank you, Joy. It's always a pleasure to be here with you ladies. Is it, though?" Joy's question hung in the air like a loaded weapon. The other co-hosts exchanged glances, sensing immediately that this wasn't going to be the puff piece they'd expected. Olivia's smile faltered just slightly. "I'm sorry. What do you mean?" "Well," Joy continued, leaning forward with the predatory instinct of a seasoned television veteran, "I've been reading some interesting things about your directing style. Some might call it, shall we say, demanding?" The studio audience was dead silent. Even the camera operators seemed to hold their breath as they sensed the tension building between these two powerhouse women. "I think demanding is a compliment in this industry," Olivia replied, her voice steady but her posture noticeably more rigid. "I have high standards for my work and the people I collaborate with." Joy let out a laugh that sounded more like a bark. "High standards. That's one way to put it. Tell me, Olivia, when you have high standards, does that include making your actors work in unsafe conditions?" The accusation hit the studio like a lightning bolt. Olivia's face went pale, then flushed red in the span of seconds. "Excuse me? I have never, and I mean never, compromised the safety of anyone on my sets." "Really?" Joy's voice dripped with skepticism. "Because I have some sources that might disagree with you." "What sources?" Olivia demanded, her famous composure beginning to crack. "Joy, if you have something to say to me, then say it directly, instead of hiding behind these vague insinuations." Joy smiled, the kind of smile a cat gives before pouncing on a mouse. "Oh, honey, there's nothing vague about what I'm saying. I'm talking about the reports of actors being pushed to their physical and emotional limits. I'm talking about the stories of people leaving your sets in tears." Olivia stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor with a sound that made everyone in the studio wince. "This is completely inappropriate, Joy. You invited me here under false pretenses. I invited you here to have an honest conversation." Joy shot back, also rising from her seat. "Something you seem incapable of having." The other co-hosts looked like deer caught in headlights, unsure whether to intervene or let this train wreck continue to unfold. The producers in the control room were frantically trying to decide whether to cut to commercial or let the ratings goldmine continue to play out. "Honest conversation?" Olivia's voice was rising now, her Hollywood polish completely abandoned. "You're ambushing me with unsubstantiated gossip and calling it journalism." Joy stepped closer to Olivia, her own voice getting louder with each word. "Unsubstantiated? I have people who worked with you, Olivia. Real people with real experiences who trusted me enough to share their stories. Then name them, Olivia challenged, her eyes blazing. If you're so confident in your sources, then have the courage to name them on national television. The challenge hung between them like a gauntlet thrown down in an ancient duel. Joy's mouth opened and closed several times, clearly not expecting to be called out so directly. For a moment, just a moment, she seemed to hesitate. I protect my sources, Joy finally managed. But her voice lacked the conviction it had carried just moments before. Convenient, Olivia replied, her tone dripping with disdain. You get to make wild accusations while hiding behind anonymous sources. How very brave of you, Joy. The insult landed like a physical blow. Joy's face turned several shades of red as she processed what Olivia had just implied about her integrity and courage. Don't you dare question my journalism, Joy hissed, stepping even closer to Olivia. I've been doing this since before you were even thinking about picking up a camera. And that gives you the right to destroy someone's reputation based on rumors. Olivia fired back. Your experience should make you better, not more reckless. The words hit their target perfectly. Joy's entire career, her decades of experience, her reputation as a fearless interviewer, all of it was being called into question by this Hollywood director who was young enough to be her daughter. Reckless? Joy's voice was barely controlled fury now. You want to talk about reckless? Let's talk about your personal life. Olivia, let's talk about the choices you've made that have nothing to do with your directing and everything to do with your character. The studio gasped collectively. Even for The View, known for its heated discussions and controversial moments, this was crossing into uncharted territory. Olivia's face went white as she realized Joy was about to drag her personal life into this professional assassination. Don't you dare, Olivia warned, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper that somehow carried more threat than any shout could have. My personal life is off limits, Joy, and you know it. But Joy was past the point of no return now. The adrenaline of live television and years of pent-up frustration with what she saw as Hollywood privilege were driving her forward like a runaway train. Off limits? Nothing is off limits when you're sitting at this table. That's not how this works. That's exactly how this works. Olivia shot back, her hands clenched into fists at her sides. There are professional boundaries, something you seem to have forgotten in your rush to create drama for ratings. Joy laughed, but there was no humor in it whatsoever. Professional boundaries? Rich coming from someone who allegedly blurred every professional boundary on her own sets. Allegedly, Olivia repeated, seizing on the word like a lifeline. That's the key word here, isn't it, Joy? Allegedly. You have no proof, no facts, just salacious rumors that you're treating as gospel truth. I have enough proof, Joy insisted, but her voice wavered slightly. More than enough to ask the questions that need to be asked. No, you have gossip, Olivia corrected firmly. Gossip that you're using to try to destroy my career because, what, you don't like my movies? You don't approve of my personal choices? What exactly is your endgame here? The question hung in the air like a challenge. For the first time, since the confrontation began, Joy seemed to actually consider what she was doing. The studio was so quiet you could hear the air conditioning humming in the background. My endgame, Joy said slowly, is accountability. Something that seems to be in short supply in your industry. Olivia let out a bitter laugh. Accountability? From someone who just spent 10 minutes making accusations she can't back up? Joy, if you want to talk about accountability, let's start with your own behavior, right here, right now. The tables had turned completely. Suddenly, Joy was the one on the defensive, and everyone in the studio could feel the shift. The other co-hosts were still frozen in their seats, watching this verbal bloodbath unfold with a mixture of horror and fascination. My behavior? Joy sputtered. I'm doing my job. I'm asking the hard questions that other interviewers are too cowardly to ask. You're ambushing a guest, Olivia corrected coldly. There's a difference between asking hard questions and setting someone up for public humiliation. which is exactly what you've done here. Joy's face was now a deep shade of crimson. Nobody set you up for anything, Olivia. If you can't handle tough questions, then maybe you shouldn't be doing publicity tours. Tough questions? Olivia's voice rose again. Joy, you haven't asked me a single question about my actual work. You haven't mentioned my new film. You haven't discussed my artistic vision. You haven't even pretended to be interested in the project I came here to promote. This entire segment has been about your personal vendetta against me. The accusation of a personal vendetta hit Joy like a slap across the face. Her mouth opened and closed several times before she managed to form words. I don't have a personal vendetta against you. Don't you? Olivia pressed, sensing weakness. Because, from where I'm sitting, this feels very personal. This feels like you decided before I even walked onto this stage that you were going to try to tear me down. Joy's hands were shaking now, though whether from anger or something else was impossible to tell. That's ridiculous. I treat all my guests the same way. No, Joy, you don't, Olivia said with devastating calmness. I've watched this show. I've seen how you fawn over certain guests while attacking others. And today, for whatever reason, you decided I was going to be your target. The word target seemed to trigger something in Joy. Target? You think you're some kind of victim here? You're a powerful Hollywood director with more money and influence than most people will see in 10 lifetimes. And you want to play the victim? I want to be treated with basic human decency, Olivia replied, something you seem incapable of providing. The insult about basic human decency was the final straw. Joy's entire demeanor changed, her media training and years of professional experience abandoned in favor of raw, unfiltered emotion. Basic human decency? Joy repeated, her voice rising to a near shriek. You want to lecture me about decency? Let's talk about decency, Olivia. Let's talk about how decent it is to break up families. Let's talk about how decent it is to pursue married men while positioning yourself as some kind of feminist icon. The studio erupted. Audience members gasped audibly, camera operators zoomed in instinctively, and the other co-hosts finally found their voices in a chorus of shocked protests. But neither Joy nor Olivia seemed to hear any of it. Olivia's face went through a series of emotions in rapid succession. Shock, hurt, rage, and finally a cold, calculating fury that was somehow more frightening than any explosive anger could have been. How dare you? Olivia said, her voice so quiet it was barely audible over the studio noise. How dare you bring my personal relationships into this? You made them public? Joy fired back, seemingly past the point of caring about consequences. You made choices that hurt real people, real families, and now you want to act like it's off limits for discussion? My relationships are between me and the people involved, Olivia replied, her voice gaining strength. They have nothing to do with my work. Nothing to do with why I'm here today. And absolutely nothing to do with you. Joy was breathing heavily now, like a boxer in the late rounds of a brutal fight. Everything is connected, Olivia. Your character, your choices, your treatment of other people. It's all connected. You can't compartmentalize your way out of accountability. Accountability to who? Olivia demanded. To you? What gives you the right to judge my life, my choices, my relationships? What makes you the moral authority here? The question seemed to genuinely stump Joy. She stood there, mouth opening and closing, clearly struggling to find an answer that would justify her behavior. I'm a journalist, Joy finally managed. But her voice lacked any of its earlier conviction. I have a responsibility to ask the questions that matter. Olivia's laugh was sharp and bitter. A journalist? Joy, you just spent the last 20 minutes assassinating my character based on gossip and rumors. That's not journalism. That's tabloid sensationalism. The comparison to tabloid journalism hit Joy like a physical blow. Her entire career, her reputation, everything she'd worked for was being reduced to the level of grocery store checkout magazines. I am not a tabloid journalist, Joy said through gritted teeth. I've been doing serious journalism for decades. Then act like it. Olivia shot back immediately. Serious journalists verify their sources. They provide evidence for their claims. They give their subjects a fair chance to respond. You've done none of those things. Joy opened her mouth to respond. But Olivia wasn't finished. The floodgates had opened, and years of frustration with media treatment were pouring out. You invited me here under false pretenses, Olivia continued, her voice gaining momentum. You made me believe this was going to be a professional interview about my work. Instead, you ambushed me with unverified accusations and personal attacks. That's not journalism, Joy. That's a hit job. The words hit job seemed to resonate through the studio. Even the crew members who had seen countless heated exchanges over the years looked uncomfortable. This had gone far beyond typical daytime television drama. It's not a hit job, Joy protested weakly. I'm asking legitimate questions. About what? Olivia demanded. About my directing? About my films? About my artistic vision? No, Joy. You've asked exactly 0 questions about any of those things. Every single attack you've made has been personal, vindictive, and completely unprofessional. Joy was visibly struggling now. The confident, aggressive host who had started this confrontation was nowhere to be found, replaced by someone who seemed to be realizing the magnitude of what she'd done. Look, Olivia, Joy began, her voice softer now. Maybe we got off on the wrong foot here. 4. Wrong foot? Olivia's voice was incredulous. Joy, you didn't get off on the wrong foot. You deliberately chose to attack me personally, instead of doing your job professionally. There's a massive difference. The studio audience was completely silent now, hanging on every word. Even the other co-hosts seemed afraid to breathe, let alone interrupt. I was trying to do my job, Joy insisted, but her voice was barely above a whisper. No, you weren't, Olivia replied firmly. You were trying to humiliate me on national television. You were trying to destroy my reputation based on gossip and hearsay. That's not doing your job. That's abusing your platform. The accusation of abusing her platform seemed to be the final blow Joy couldn't recover from. She slumped back into her chair, looking suddenly older and smaller than she had at the beginning of the segment. I think, Olivia said, her voice now calm and controlled. This interview is over. She turned to walk away, but Joy's voice stopped her. Wait, Joy said, her voice cracking slightly. Olivia, wait. Olivia turned back, her expression unreadable. What now, Joy? More accusations? More personal attacks? More unsubstantiated rumors you want to present as fact? Joy shook her head slowly. No. I think maybe I made a mistake here. The admission hung in the air like a white flag of surrender. For a moment, it seemed like Joy might actually apologize, might acknowledge that she'd crossed lines that should never be crossed. Maybe, Olivia repeated, her voice heavy with disbelief. Maybe you made a mistake? Joy, you spent 20 minutes trying to destroy my career and my personal reputation on live television. Maybe doesn't begin to cover it. Joy looked around the studio, seeming to see for the first time the shocked faces of her colleagues, the uncomfortable expressions of the crew, the stunned silence of the audience. The reality of what she'd done was finally sinking in. I think, Joy said quietly, I need to take a break. We need to go to commercial. She signaled frantically to the producers, who had been waiting for any excuse to cut away from this disaster. The floor manager began counting down, and Joy turned back to Olivia. One last time. Olivia, I'm sorry, she said, but the words sounded hollow and inadequate after everything that had happened. Olivia looked at her for a long moment, then shook her head slowly. You're sorry that I fought back instead of sitting here and taking your abuse quietly. But you're not actually sorry for what you did." With that devastating assessment, Olivia turned and walked off the set, leaving Joy sitting alone at the table as the cameras finally cut away. The silence in the studio was deafening, broken only by the sound of Olivia's heels clicking against the floor as she disappeared behind the curtain. The remaining co-hosts looked at each other with expressions of shock and bewilderment. They'd all witnessed career-ending moments before, but nothing quite like this. The complete breakdown of professional standards, the personal attacks, the public humiliation of both guest and host. It was unlike anything that had ever happened on The View. Joy sat motionless in her chair, staring at the spot where Olivia had been standing. The confident, aggressive interviewer was gone, replaced by someone who looked lost and confused, as if she couldn't quite believe what had just transpired. The producers were already in damage control mode, trying to figure out how to salvage the rest of the show, how to address what had just happened, and most importantly, how to deal with the inevitable fallout from this explosive confrontation. What started as a routine promotional interview had become one of the most shocking moments in daytime television history. Two powerful women had gone to war on live television, and when the dust settled, both of their reputations would be forever changed by those 20 minutes of unfiltered hostility and professional breakdown. So what did you think of this incredible confrontation? Have you ever seen anything this intense on live television before? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more incredible stories from the world of entertainment. What other celebrity feuds would you like to see covered next?